Hi guys, welcome. Today I've got this really cute beehive and tray that I thrifted. I'm going to be making a mold for this, and I'll tell you, I have had zero success making molds. I'm not sure why. Probably because, when you buy these smaller molds, they're really hard to work with. I've tried clay a couple of times and also the hot glue method, but I'm going to give it another shot. So I also have, there's like a hanger at the top of this, and I removed the original string. So I'm just going to use some clear fishing line for this, and I want to get this tied on first. I was going to add a little topper embellishment to this, but I decided against it. So I'm just going to go ahead and tie the fishing line. Now I'm going to paint the tray. I wanted this to be kind of rustic, I do like the metal quite a bit, but I did decide to go ahead and give this a couple of coats of the coffee bean acrylic paint, and you'll see a little bit of a peach paint in there as well. For some reason I decided that I wanted to go with a little bit of the peach. Also, I've got a more of a reddish rust paint that I'm painting this with, and so we're going for kind of a rust look on this. And so now I did a little bit of E6000 and hot glue to get that secured, and I'm taking some moss. The moss goes well with this beehive. I don't normally like to use this moss, but I liked how it looked with this one, and so I'm just going to throw that on with a little bit of hot glue. So my mold is dry, and I'm going to paint it this mossy meadow. It's like a sage green. There were a couple of spots with this mold that were kind of funky, but I painted over it and it looked fine. And also I had to cut some of the edges because the glue kind of runs over the sides there. But so I got it cleaned up, painted it green. Now I'm going to go over it with a little bit of the coffee bean for aging, and I just kind of press that down there to pick up the paint. And now I'm going to hot glue that on there. If these are a little stiff, especially with the hot glue, you can run your hair dryer or heat gun and remold it so it's flexible. And so I just glued it with a little bit of hot glue, and this is the finished project number 1. For project number 2, I have these transfers I just picked up at Walmart. They were under $4, so I thought they were a pretty good deal. Even though it's just this one sheet, I know I can get a couple of uses out of these. I'm not much for butterflies, but I know you guys enjoyed some of the projects in the past where I've used them, and it's kind of a fun change for me. Also, this bright lime green color, I'm not sure what I was thinking, but I end up mixing some other colors in and softening it, toning it down, and it goes really well with the 3 butterflies that I choose for this project. So now you'll see that I'm adding in a little bit of the aqua with that lime green. I'm going to go back over it and just kind of tone it down. I'm really actually liking these colors quite a bit, and overall I am happy with this project. So I'm just going to finish painting this, and we're going to get those transfers on. So I've got my transfers and I've already picked out 3 of them that I think go pretty well together. I do actually like these colors. I love the aqua and blues. And so this third one here that I'm cutting out is a little bit darker. That's fine. I'm going to end up pulling it all together in the end. So I'm just going to figure out where I want these. Originally I wanted the smallest butterfly in the middle, but I ended up putting it at the top, and it doesn't really matter what arrangement you do. Just, you know, it always has kind of like a little botanical feel to it. And now let's see, that popsicle stick they added in those transfers. These popsicle sticks don't work, guys. It's a rounded edge, so you're basically working on like the point of a needle trying to get these transfers down. So I ended up switching over to a different tool here in a minute. But you know, these work just like any other kind of a transfer. Now they were from Walmart, so I had to kind of really keep an eye on how, you know, the quality of how these were going to work. Overall, they seem to work just like any other transfer that I've used. And so there's the first one. So I switched over to a different tool so I can get some better coverage. And just kind of keeping an eye on all of the edges, and especially the, you know, the things that come up. I don't know, I can't think of the word right now. But I want to make sure that those transferred as well, because they're very, very fine. And so I'm just going to peel back that third one. Now I'm taking my palette knife. I'm going to go back in with that original lime green, which, you know, kind of starts to look like a yellow, and I am not much for yellow. So I'm just kind of going to go lightly with this and then bring that aqua back in to tone down the yellow. And then I do one more color. So you'll notice that I started out kind of light around the edges. I wanted to see where I was going with this, and I really like this aqua so much that I decided to bring it all the way into the project through the middle and the images. It just gives it kind of a little bit of an old world feel, and I don't think it hinders the butterflies too much. It all just completes the overall look, and you'll see here right there where I just went for it. That's fine. It looks like a chipped paint kind of effect. And so when I'm done with this, what I wanted to do is bring in a little bit of a darker color. The butterfly in the middle does have that black or dark gray, so I end up with a color called Pavement. It's not quite a black, excuse me, it's a little bit darker or a little bit lighter than a black, and it's a dark gray. And so I thought that picked up that middle butterfly pretty well and ended up framing out this entire piece. And the last step is I paint the outside edge in that same gray, just to kind of complete or tie everything together. And I'm going to go ahead and get this dry. So here I am just painting that really quick to give it kind of like a frame. So that is it for project number 2. Let me know what you guys think. For project number 3, I wanted to make like a little bit of like a wind chime out of clay. I haven't done any kind of clay projects yet, and so I got kind of a wild hair, and I thought today was the day. So I'm just going to roll this out flat. I've got my cookie cutter there. It's a nice medium size, and so I'm going to need a hole for hanging. I end up just taking the bottom of a paintbrush and poking a hole. You'll see my two other clay pieces there, those stars. I was going to make something today in this video, but I decided to just go with this one here. I want to make sure that this is nice and smooth, so I spray it down with a little bit of water. And now I have this bird stamp. Yes, you can use stamps in your clay, and I've had the stamp forever. It's just darling. So I'm gonna go ahead, press that right in there. You'll see that it does leave a little bit of my last ink stamp there, but that's not a problem. I'm going to end up staining this anyways. And so after this is dry, I'm just going to sand the edges. So I want to go ahead and get this stained. Now, if you're going to do a project like this, don't do what I did. Make sure that you put a sealer down first. That way you can control your paint or stain a lot better. What I ended up doing was spraying it with some water and picking up that paint. Then I put a sealer down and started over again. While that sealer is drying, I've got a couple of wood beads that are two different sizes. I'm just going to stain these really quick. I like to throw these on my paint brushes, depending on the size of the hole of the bead. It really ends up working out quite nicely for drying. Now that sealer is dry, I'm going to go back over this with more of the coffee bean acrylic paint and a little bit of water. I always like to give a little bit of depth to any of my pieces with indentations like this. And so I'm just going to take the coffee bean and go around that hanger, and it just gives it a little bit of added interest. So now I've got some twine. This is like an antique white twine, and I think it's a really pretty color. It's a nice alternative to the standard twine that we're used to. And so I'm just going to string that through there, tie a knot, and add my beads. So you'll see here where I cut that one string. I always like to cut those short and hide the string inside of the beads. That way you get a little bit of a cleaner look. I think there's probably a couple ways you can do this, but this is what I've always done, and it really just hides that second string nicely. So now I'm just going to tie a knot at the top, and that'll be it for this project. I'm going to tie a knot at the top for hanging, and that'll be it for project number 3. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.